Hi everybody, it's Paul with Orlando Bonsai again, and this episode we're going to do a follow-up to a number of the videos we've already put out there. There's a lot of people that have asked questions, asking how things have turned out, what they look like now, and just kind of show a progression. So I just want to kind of go over some of the projects that we've worked on over the past month or two, including this root over rock. I want to cover the air layer and the thread graft that I did in my large trident maple, and then kind of give some plans for what I'm going to do for the rest of the growing season, and kind of show some details. And again, I'm going to show some close-ups this week and talk a little bit slower because I got some advice from a good friend in Amsterdam, and I'm going to see if I can follow his advice and see if we can slow things down a little bit. So a lot of information to cover as always, but I think we can cover this one pretty easily and kind of go over some good details. So the first thing I'm going to start with is the root over rock. Now, as you probably remember, some of the challenges we had were to bring the growth that was growing a lot on the outside of the tree, start bringing it in. Now, I did lose some branches as I did my initial styling, but it's not a big deal because the ficus is going to keep popping out all over the tree, and I do have a lot of new growth popping out already. Additionally, I got a comment after I did the initial root over rock, attaching the tree to the rock. Someone had suggested the use of sphagnum moss and also the use of saran wrap to kind of keep the moisture in, which I actually had to agree with. Very good ideas. I did both of those. The sphagnum moss, of course, as I've stated before, has a rooting hormone already in it. So what better way to get more additional roots to grow than to put some sphagnum moss? So I filled the center portion in, and then I did wrap it in a saran wrap. But the saran wrap actually kept this tree wet, and it defoliated everything. I actually thought I was going to lose the entire tree because of the tree being so wet. Every leaf came off this thing, and all the other leaves turned yellow, then brown, and then dropped. So I was kind of in a panic mode, thinking, oh, this is not going to be a very good follow-up video because I've killed the thing. So once I took the saran wrap off, but left the sphagnum moss, and again, this gets 2 waterings a day, one in the early morning and then one in the later afternoon, just to kind of keep everything moist. But I'll show a close-up here in a second of how we've got roots already springing out, starting to cling to the rock. And again, you see the foliage, which is just popping out everywhere. And in no time, we're going to have a nice canopy. You can already see the basic structure. It's going to look pretty much just like this. And then a few cascading branches just to kind of add a little bit of contrast and some nice color down against the rock. One last thing I do want to point out is I am going to change this pot. The pot that I have it in right now is the rectangular one that I put it in originally, which I kind of liked in the beginning, but the more I look at it, the less I like it. I think with the chunkiness of this rock and then the chunkiness of the pot, they kind of make the whole thing feel like too heavy. So what I want to do is I want to replace this with an oval, very shallow bonsai pot. I'm going to do a darker brown to give it a little bit more contrast and a little bit offset, because right now this tree is dead center of this pot. And we know with art that you kind of want to do things a little bit offset. So what we're going to do is we'll bring the bonsai pot out to about this far, and just show some contrast and some negative space, and really fill this tree in very, very nicely. So let me just kind of go over some of the details right now, and I'll show you how this tree's developing, and still where we need to develop more. So this is the back side of the tree, and you'll see that there are a number of aerial roots, especially near the cut of the root that I'd already done. What we have is some very brand new aerial roots, and you can tell how healthy they are by the light color. And these are going to continue to find their way down the tree until they hit a place where they can cling to and hit a nice water source. And at that point, they'll continue to thicken up. But you can see that they are starting to grow from so many sections of this cut that it's just a matter of time before they really fill in. I'm still looking for some more to fill in this area. Florida, we have a rainy season, and I think once the rainy season kicks in, I'm going to get a lot more aerial roots dropping from the branches. I've got a few that are here, but I think we're going to have healthier ones coming. These are actually from last year, so I think when we start getting more daily rains, in just a matter of time, we'll be able to get some good roots to really cling to this rock and make it all feel as one complete unit instead of a tree sitting on top of a rock. And you can see that there's a lot of activity up here. This gets more sunlight than the backside of the tree. And again, the water source I usually have right here, so I've got a lot of rain or a lot of water coming down this tree, and hitting every bit of this. So it's keeping this very moist during the day. So this is just, going right along with the water flow. So overall, like I said, I did lose some branches when I did the initial wiring. I just removed these, but I've got branches popping out right next to it, which I'll just replace it with. For the most part, the canopy is filling in beautifully though. And it's just a matter of time before this tree really is a finished canopy and a very solid looking tree. Okay, hopefully you can see me back here. This is the Brazilian rain tree that we did the air layer on. I think this is done probably about close to about a month ago at this point. I've not checked the under the aluminum foil to see if the roots have started or not, but it's funny, you can see how the bottom of the tree very full and open, and the top of the tree almost a little bit more limp, just because of what we did to the cambium of the tree. But let's take a little close up and see if we've got some roots sprouted and see how this tree is developing. And you can see there's a lot on the tips of new growth that has started on this tree. Really has filled in quite a bit, which is surprising. But it's just, I guess, the time of the year for this tree to grow, and it is certainly doing that. So let me see if I can peel back some of the aluminum foil here and see what we have underneath. It's definitely up. I'm seeing some tips of some roots starting in there. Oh, and there you go. That's what you're looking for. Let me get a real close up of that. And now you can see how the roots are starting actually at the base of the cut. This is all brand new roots. So when I make the cut down here and eventually and take it off the tree, these roots will support the upper half of this tree. And you can see what a nice base of the tree I'm going to have. I'm going to have a nice thick nabari, a nice thick trunk to work with. This is going to be my brand new tree. Everything from here down, of course, is going to be an additional, another tree. But since I didn't have a whole lot of taper anyway, what I'll be able to do is now grow a brand new top on that tree and develop a whole new tree, or a whole new couple of trees actually. And it's just a matter of time on these to really thicken up and both become really wonderful material to work with. Now, since I do have some roots on here, I could probably separate it at this point, but what's the rush? I'll probably let this go another month or so, and I'll do a video on that when I actually separate them to show you what these actually look like. We'll rake them out, get them spread out a little bit, and then get this into a bonsai pot. Or no, I'll probably put it into a nursery pot, I think, for a year, just to kind of give it a chance to establish itself and to really grow some roots. And I'm thinking we'll probably put that into a nursery mix because I think we want some longer roots for stabilizing. And then later on we'll worry about getting those nice feeder roots that we're always after to get it into a nice shallow pot. But looks like we're 2 for 2 on the project so far. I'm pretty happy with the roots that are developing on this tree. Okay, another project we worked on was doing a thread graft on this large trident maple. And as you probably remember, I had pulled the thread graft through and had mentioned how we were lucky enough to keep the terminal bud and a number of buds along the length of that whip. But however, once it pulled through, I didn't have much success for the survival of those buds. They're actually they hardened up, and really the only ones I had were the ones closest to the trunk. I'm not complaining about that because it totally worked, because I got 2 great new leads that are coming off this. One I'm leaving on just to help thicken the whip up right there at the wound. The second one will be my next lead. This one's going to wind up being bent down to this position once it hardens up a little bit, and I got, right now it's reaching for the light, and I wanted to reach for the light because I want this thing to be very, very strong. And in a minute I'll show you a close-up of this to show you how much thicker it's actually getting near the cambium, and it's just a matter of time before it gets thick enough that it actually starts to tie into the cambium of the tree, and I can actually remove the bottom of the whip. There's quite a difference already. There's a lot of thickness that's developed, which is a good indication that this thing is just already starting to tie into the cambium somewhat of the tree. So another success it looks like on this one. This one I'm probably going to leave till the end of summer. Just to really thicken up and just to really make sure it's on there and it's caught in very well. No reason to rush it because it's going to take at some point. It's just a matter of when. But I want to make sure I increase the chances as best I can so that I don't have to go through this process again and I wind up with a branch at the end of the season and I know that it's going to make it. Additionally, this tree, I'm planning probably in the next couple of weeks I'm going to defoliate this tree, and that will be a video that we cover because I wanted to show, well, first of all, how I defoliate, and then we can kind of go over the reasons why I do it, and I'll show you how that we can get 2 growing seasons in one. So that's something to look forward to in the future. But let me show you a little close-up of how this whip is actually taken as a thread graft. Okay, and now this is the back side of that whip as it's coming through. This is the exit wound of the tree, and you can even see how the thickness goes from here, and then where the new growth is, just right at this node, or I'm sorry, at this internode, and then everything beyond that has stayed the initial thickness. So when this thing went in, it was probably maybe an eighth of an inch, and it's already up to a quarter of an inch, if not more, already the thickness. Now, as soon as this gets fat enough, it's going to start tying into this cambium, and it will no longer send nutrients down to the roots of this branch, but it'll start to integrate with this tree, which means it's going to start sending nutrients down the tree here, which is just a greater chance for this to actually take and just get a much, much thicker branch. You can probably see how it's already starting to push out some of the material that it had inside the wound. You know, you're starting to see some separation on the cut paste that was applied, and what's happening is as it's starting to heal over, and as this thing's starting to increase, all the foreign matter, which is the bark of this tree, is being pushed out of the wound, so that after that it's expelled, it'll seal over and it'll just become part of the tree. But it's starting to really catch on there now. As I wiggle it, not a whole lot of movement close to the base. Now compare that to where it's actually going in, which is here, which is a little bit thicker, of course, but not quite as thick as what it's looking like when it comes out. So I think there's a really good chance this thing is taking, doing very, very well. It's just a matter of time. Like I said, probably another month or two for this thing to really grab on. And then I can make the cut right here, seal this over, let the tree heal. You never know that this was a branch going in, and all we do is have the exit wound. So looking pretty good, and I'm pretty happy with this this little project as well. One more thing that I kind of wanted to go over was the sacrifice branch. This is my bald cypress, which I'm doing a sacrifice branch on the top of. As you can see, it's still it's starting to thicken up there. It's pulling a lot of energy up to the top of the tree, which I'm going to remove this. This will be my top when it's finished right here, but I'm just using this to pull the energy up and to heal over a wound in the back of the tree, which you could probably see right here. And as that it continues to cover over and heal over, and you can see it's starting to, the cambium's already rolling over. So as soon as that totally heals, I'll remove that sacrifice branch off the top, and we'll have a really nice looking bald cypress. This tree's come a long way. Probably the last time we saw it was when I did a stop motion video, kind of just showing how the trimming's done. This is the branch that was actually moving in that video, and you can see how after I cut it back, look how much more dense it got, because what it does, it forced the energy that was going out of the tips of those branches to come back and now fill in with a lot more branching. So the tree's doing very, very well. In case you've never seen how large that trident maple is, this is actually that tree. You can see the first branch right down there on the bottom left, and the pot on the right side of the tree, which shows, you know, where the base of that whip actually is. But I'm also doing a sacrifice branch on that because I've got some large scars near the top of that tree, and they weren't healing very well. So I'm just going to let a couple shoots go off the top, do a little bit of healing for me, and then once that's done, I'll go ahead and remove those as well. Look for this video shortly. I would think, like I said, I'm probably going to defoliate that tree probably in the next couple of weeks. So I usually do it 4th of July weekend, also my birthday weekend. So that's one that I'm going to be sharing with you very soon. Bonsai convention in Florida is next weekend, so if anybody's in town or going to be in town in Orlando, Florida, you might want to check it out. Bonsai-bsf.com is the place to find out how to find more information about the convention, and we'll be talking to you soon.